We're here with the Mercy Music Podcast. We're here in Studio A at Mercy University with José Uezyoga. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Jose is the weekend and night manager right now at Mercy University. But before that, you must have discovered music in some way.
Yeah.
So tell me about how you first came to discover it.
Yeah, so when I was in my country in 2010, I remember listening to one song of Skrillex. I think it was First of the Year, if I'm correct. I remember exactly.
That's the name of the song, First of the Year?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, or was it the first day of the year?
No, it's called First of the Year.
Okay.
And
Wonder when he made that.
And I fell in love with the sounds. I mean, the sound design and everything, and that kind of like made me get interested into electronic music.
Yeah.
And pretty much music production. I started by DJing in high school as well.
Okay.
And yeah.
But from that first interest of it, you hear the song, you like it. You have nothing though. You don't have equipment. You don't have a computer.
No, I had no music history or anything.
So what's the
at all.
first step? What's that first step into that world? What do you get?
I got my first DJ controller
Okay.
back in the day, and I just started just mixing music in there.
Okay. With a computer though, I imagine that.
Yeah,
DJ,
with a laptop and a computer. Yeah. Mhm.
What software would it have been?
I was using Virtual DJ.
Okay.
That's the only software that I knew how to use.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then what? You just lock yourself in the room and
Yeah, I just let myself put some headphones on, turn the controller on, and just pretty much just mix music, do mashups, try to add some vocals into other songs. And also I got the chance to play songs in some clubs in the area in my country. Yeah.
So that you're playing shows already?
Yeah, I was playing shows already back in the day.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Mhm.
So in high school, really?
Yeah, in high school.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
And for the people that don't know, where is this happening?
Peru.
In Peru.
Yeah.
Amazing. And how many shows were you? I didn't know this. See, I'm learning something. This is amazing. What? How many shows would you say you played like in high school?
I want to say around 50 shows, maybe.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's like, because same with me, but obviously for like rock, I was doing rock music, but those shows teach you how to be a musician, right? They
Yes,
teach you how to
they definitely
handle
do.
yourself, how to even just booking them, showing up on time, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you did 50 shows before you even graduated high school, it's like an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, I was lucky that I have that opportunity with my cousin. He was older than me, so he kind of like took care of most of the stuff, the technical stuff.
But still,
yeah,
you know.
But I had the chance to play the songs in there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, did you have family that was doing music as well? Or
No, my family is not a musician related.
Nobody?
Or anything. No one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Actually, even before music, I was going for psychology.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's a big change, I know.
Yeah. Well, is it that different? Maybe not.
Maybe not, yeah.
And so you do that, and then what happens after high school then?
Well, I finished high school. Then I get the chance to come here. So I had to think that decision, either stay or come here.
Yeah.
And I decided to come here because my mom was here. So I had to be here.
So were you already coming here and then you decided to look at like music school?
Yes.
Okay. So you were coming here.
Yeah.
And you were already playing music.
Well, I was kind of like in music production at that moment. I was touching the DAW and that.
Yeah.
At that moment. Yeah.
So what DAW? What at that time?
FL Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still the master of FL.
Yeah.
Right here. The Mercy master of,
Mercy master,
of FL for sure. Amazing. So you're making stuff in FL. You're here now. You're in New York at that time. And then what made you decide to go to like a music school, like a university?
Well, even when I got here, I was going for psychology still.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow.
But something just turned off the switch on that. I decided just to go for music because that's something that I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to pretty much spend my whole time just writing papers about some stuff that I wasn't really interested in.
Were you bummed to find out you had to write papers in the music department?
Well, that's something I discovered once I got there.
Amazing. And so did you start psychology like at Mercy or did you?
No, I went to Westchester Community College.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So you transferred here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you transferred as like a second or third year student?
Yeah, second year. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Because they have music. They have some music there.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. That's incredible. And then, what did you do here? What was your Mercy student life? What did you like?
Man, it's kind of hard to believe that it was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, my Mercy life was pretty much just try to be out of problems most of the time, but also trying to do what I wanted to do exactly, like making music, get to know some people and work with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty much I just had really a lot of fun in my Mercy life.
Yeah.
As a student as well.
And what did you was there anything like you took from the experience that like you didn't already know or like got out of your comfort zone? Or I mean, I know you still make amazing electronic music, but were you know, anything you took from the experience that wasn't something you were already doing beforehand, or maybe not?
Something that I always say this, that once I started in Mercy, I didn't know how to use Pro Tools at all,
right?
At all. And with all the stuff that we had, like the gear, cables, and that, I didn't know how to use that too. I was interested in learning, of course, but I didn't know how to, and I was scared to do it too.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Kessler, Kessler helped me to learn that, and since that, I know, it was just a flow, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then you graduated.
Yeah.
And I know you've worked at a couple different places. What's your post graduation life? I mean, obviously you work here right now, but you've worked at Sam Ash. You've worked at some other.
Yeah, places. I worked in Sam Ash for a good time before they closed. I was doing also freelance gigs. As an engineer. For different people.
Audio engineering.
Like, audio engineering. So, for small bands, pretty much. Yeah. And there was this place in Hastings on Hudson, the Borber Cryan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sad they closed though, but I was there for a whole year pretty much.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
A whole year. So all different live sound events.
Yeah, right? Different live sound, different bands, different events, everything.
That's amazing.
It was amazing, yes.
And did you do live sound before that for bands, or was that kind of your main?
No, that was kind of like something new, honestly.
So I'm sure you learned a lot.
I did learn
that. Yeah. Like what? What did you learn doing that?
Pretty much how to deal with artists because they can be hard sometimes.
No.
Come on.
Yeah.
In technical stuff, I learned how to, send their vocals to the monitors, send some stuff into the monitor, send reverb if they wanted to.
Because they had an analog desk there too.
They had an analog desk, then they switched to digital. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that made it easier. Made it easier, honestly.
Yeah. What did they switch to?
They switched from Mackie, a Power Mackie analog, to QU16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know it, but
it's Allen Heath.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Nice. Very cool. All right. So you're the FL. Yeah. You're the king of FL at Mercy University.
Supposedly, I don't know.
I think so. I don't know anyone else better. If you haven't heard Jose's remixes, you need to check them out. What's your artist name?
Silent Sun.
Incredible remixes. Absolutely amazing. So tell us why you're still using FL. I mean, you know Pro Tools, you know a bit of Ableton and Logic, I imagine.
Yeah, Logic and Ableton I also know how to use.
But what is it about FL that you still?
Well, I find it easier to do production stuff.
Okay.
Probably like beginning stuff to start with something more complex. If somebody else wants to record in Pro Tools, for example, but they need something before that as a reference, I can do that from FL Studio as well. I recorded stuff in FL Studio as well. Yeah. So that's something that kind of like know how to do that too. But mostly I feel more comfortable in FL because the sound design that I do for my stuff, it's way easier than other DAWs.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the only similarity I will find is probably Ableton, but for workflow, I will feel more comfortable in FL Studio.
Yeah.
That's why I'm still using it.
And you don't see that changing. You're gonna use FL for.
Yeah. I will use FL forever.
I don't think you should change because your stuff's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, please check that out. We'll link to some of your music as well. So we know you're like FL, but you can obviously use Pro Tools. Any plugins that you want to like shout out that are part of your sound that you need?
Well,
love.
If we're talking about FL Studio plugins,
sure.
3X Oscillator, I always do my basses with it.
Okay.
GMS, that's pretty much what I use for my pads, my keys, pretty much everything. Keyzone, that's a digital piano VST. That's something free that everyone can use, honestly. And third party, I use the LA2A digital version pretty much all the time.
The UAD or
the UAD.
Okay, yeah.
I also use the kilohertz plugins. Nice. I got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
and Ozone for some mastering that I do sometimes in FL.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if you could talk about your remixing techniques, because you have such a Yeah, we'll link to some of your remixes too, but like the attention to detail in your remixes are like unparalleled. Not every 8 bars. I mean, every 8 beats of there's always something not gratuitous, not over the top, but always something that keeps your interest, and like always something that kind of I don't know. It's not just like you pressed a button on a keyboard and let a patch do its thing. Like you are creating a journey with your remix. Like, can you speak on like how you maybe approach that? I know it's hard when we're not listening to a piece, but like, can you maybe talk about that?
Yeah, well, so with Silent Zone, this is something like an alter ego for me. And pretty much, I also like to write stories, fictional stories in my head. Like, doesn't have to be something that I have reference or somebody else reference or anything. It's just something like there was this knight that was fighting this dragon or whatever.
Yeah.
And in case of remixes, the artist, the original artist, is the focus of the song.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
So what I will do is just try to focus that as the main story, while I do everything on the background, just to I'm not want to say make it sound better.
Yeah.
Because the original songs usually sound better than the remixes sometimes too. It depends, honestly.
Well, I think when I've heard some of your, because you've done a bunch of remixes for me too, and like, you did the West Meets West one coming out in later in April, but it's like, it's nothing like the original. Yeah. So it's funny. It's like, yes, there's a focus, but it's also, I think there's you just unencumbered by the original.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to like speak on something kind of totally new. Yeah. Which I like. So, too many remixes like, oh, it's just the original with a kick drum underneath. Like, no, you approach it differently. Yeah. So without overstepping over the original either. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, I will use the original as, I take the main story, for example, and I just write something completely different out of it,
Yeah.
But just keeping the essence of the original track as well.
Yeah.
Because I do change it a lot, but
yeah.
I'm not trying to erase it from the original,
Well, and I know it's hard to put into words sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really because it's like, oh, how do you write this song? And it's like, but this is a music podcast. There's music students listening, and it's important to try to be able to explain these things and put it into words. But I mean, at a certain point of view, or a certain point in time, just listen to the song and you'll learn everything you can just by listening to it. I mean, that brings me into a question about like reference mixes. Very often when a student like asks me like, hey, how does this sound? It's like, well, what are you going for? What kind of music? We just did this with Thomas 2 minutes ago with a like a metal song. What is this trying to sound like? What are you trying to emulate? So, because very often if you're trying to sound like Skrillex, well, listen to a Skrillex song in your studio, and no teacher or no article, no podcast is going to tell you better information than just listening and A-Bing your song versus the Skrillex song, or my song, my West Meets West song versus a different post-rock song. Like, can it live in that world? So is there any references that you like to?
Yeah, definitely.
Like for your own stuff?
Obviously Skrillex.
Yeah.
That's the main reference always. In electronic music, I can say Skrillex, Virtual Riot, Armin van Buuren, Avicii. Avicii is also a really big reference into my life. I was really sad when he passed away, unfortunately. In Latin music, I can take Tiny. This guy is Puerto Rican, if I'm right.
Okay.
I hope not being right. I don't want to offend anyone.
We'll fact check that.
Okay. Also, this Peruvian producer, Anton Rose.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got to meet him 2 years ago, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah.
We had a student that did monitors for Skrillex in China. We had a Mercy student, and he said it was very loud.
I feel so jealous.
Very, very loud. Amazing. So that's pretty close. But what advice would you give someone starting out in music? Not necessarily out in college, just somebody starting out in music. Could be 50 years old. It could be 15 years old. It could be 5 years old.
So the problem with me was in the beginning, because I also had my doubts into going to music as well. It's that I always listen to other people mostly. I always care about their opinions, but there is a point where you just have to be brave enough to go against it.
Yeah,
that's I think that's the most important thing to do when you, especially not only music but in everything else.
Yeah.
If you're gonna start doing something and you know that people is gonna go against that, you gotta be brave enough to fight them.
Yeah. I mean, because it's kind of an old cliche, like, parents come in for a tour and they're worried about, am I going to get a job doing this?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what we're
thinking? Especially in Peru, because that's such a weird country. That's something that you will see a lot. Mostly.
Yeah. Well, it's a kind of a universal thing, though, because I remember when I was, looking at college, and I'm sure the other students in this room have similar things, like, oh, you're going to do music. Oh, are you going to get a job? I mean, I think, honestly, anything is going to be hard at this point to work in. Like, everything is going to take a lot of work. The world is constantly shifting and jobs are constantly in flux. But I think you're right. You need some kind of if you really love it. I know you really love it, so I don't have to even ask you that.
Yeah.
I know you love music. It's in your DNA. But that's why it needs to be there. If you're like wishy-washy about music, like, yeah, I kind of like it. Maybe you should do something else. I hate to be a bummer about it, but if you wake up every day like I know you do, and you think about the next remix, think about the next patch you're gonna make, and the next song, obviously just being a good employee in your music jobs too. Those are going to apply themselves to your whole career and future. But yeah, where do you think you'll be? Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years, 10 years?
I really want to open my studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's my dream right now. I really want to open my studio.
And what would the focus of the studio be?
Recording.
Yeah. Nice. Everything. Any kind of music.
Recording and mixing, mastering.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's a great plan. That's an amazing plan.
Yeah. I'm still working on it, but it's gonna work.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Where would that be?
I'm trying to make it happen in White Plains.
In White Plains. Yeah. Amazing. That's where our studios used to be. They did. We used to be in White Plains. Very cool. But that's actually why I wanted to do this podcast too, is to bridge that gap between like alumni and current students. So like, because this could be, someone could be listening to this in 2 years and go, oh, let me look up Jose. How's his studio going? Does he need help? Can I intern for you? Can I help or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jose. Thank you for being here today.
Thank
You're
you.
amazing.